Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And if you happen to be new, I'm Sandy. Today I am going to show y'all how to make snippet rolls or how I make them. So I am going to start out with this fabric here. This is just some cotton fabric that I've picked up either at Hobby Lobby or Joann's. And a snippet roll is something that you cut out into a strip that's usually about 2 to 3 inches tall, and then the length of it can be as long as you want it to be. And usually you have it be at least a couple of feet long, and you call it snippet roll because you'll just snip off pieces of it to use it in your journal. And that's where the name kind of comes from, and you roll it up to store it. So I'm going to start off with this piece of cotton here, and I'm going to cut this down into 2 3-inch strips. So each one I think is going to be about 28 inches, and then I'm going to start decorating up onto this fabric, and I'm going to use all kinds of different laces and other fabric and focal points and trims. So yeah, let's get started. I've cut down my 2 strips here, and I'm going to work on it one at a time. But let me show you real quickly. Here is a snippet I made last fall, and you can see I have it all rolled up there. And what I did on this one, I did the sewing in orange, you can see on the back there. But I did just all pretty fall colors, oranges and greens, and I have some mushrooms and a fox and a bunny stamped on some fabric. And then you can see the buttons and the charms that I added. So that gives you an idea of what a finished snippet looks like. The one I'm working on today is a spring inspired one. I find these to be so much fun. So first off, I'm going to start off with some fabrics here. And let me show you what I'm working with. I have these vintage fabrics, and they're all kind of the pinks and greens, and I wanted them to be kind of nice background colors and images. And then I also have some of these flower words on this print. Thought that would be fun to add some of those in. So yeah, those are some of the fabrics. And then for the focal point, I thought I would use these rub-ons that I got from Taberlogy, and I'm going to rub them onto another piece of fabric and then adhere them onto the snippet roll. And I like that the fabric I'm using for the rub-ons is a little bit darker than the base, so it just adds a little nice contrast there. And I think I'll have one each in the 5-inch section, as I know I'm going to be cutting this particular snippet roll up for my patrons. Each patron in the bluegrass tier will get a 5-inch section of the snippet roll. I also have some ribbons and some lace trims, and definitely going to be using that. I love that lace trim there. And then I have some of these velvet trims that I think will be nice to use. Probably will be using the cream color and the pinks that I have on there. After I get the base layers down, I will do some embellishing. So these are some other things I pulled from my stash that I might use. I got those in Happy Mail. And also these bulb pins. So each little 5-inch section will get a bulb pin. And I'll also add some additional lace and trim just kind of throughout where I think it might work. So you have some butterflies I might add. And I got those in Happy Mail. And I thought these are fun little spring flowers. I might use those. So I'll have to kind of work through the first layer with the fabric and the lace, and then I'll come back and see about using some of these different trims that I have here. I am going to start cutting down the fabric into little bitty pieces. And also I will take the flowers from Taperlogy and rub them on to other little pieces of fabric and get all that prepped and ready. And then I'll come back on and do some gluing with you all. I have marked off 5-inch segments on this snippet roll because I know I'm going to be cutting these up to send to my patrons. And I have all my little pieces torn up and cut out. And I am just going to start laying things out. I'm going to try to have kind of a repeating pattern, if you will, but each one will be a little bit different as far as the layout of the fabrics and things like that. So here I am just taking all the different pieces and laying them out, wanting to have different pieces in each little section. And so I just go through and spread out. I know I want a flower in each little section, and then I'm going to want some of the lace. So you can kind of get a feel for how to go about and laying it out. And here I'm just putting some butterflies down. So you want it to just look natural, and when you're happy with it, then it's good. At this point, I decide that on the little flower pieces, I'm going to sew around those before I glue them onto the snippet roll. I also am going to add additional trims and things like that after I get these main pieces glued down, and I'll come back and show you all that. I sewed around the edges on each one of these flowers in a soft pink. I think that just adds a nice little touch. And now I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac glue and glue down these pieces. So I'll cut most of that part out, but a couple tips on gluing. With the Fabri-Tac glue, when you have some really thin fabrics, you'll want to make sure you kind of spread the glue out so that you don't have any big globs, because the big globs can kind of show through the fabric. So that's one tip I wanted to point out. And then I don't put a whole lot of glue because I know I'm going to be sewing this on the sewing machine. But if you aren't going to be using a sewing machine, then you'll probably want to use a little bit more glue to make sure all the edges are sewed down. And then I do, after I sew, because I don't sew every single edge and corner, I will come back and add some glue at some areas that seem to be kind of popping up. I really like this little pink finger protector. It's for the hot glue gun, but I like using it to spread the glue out. That way I don't really get as much on my finger. I mean, I still get some, but it helps a little bit. So let me finish gluing and I will be back. I took it over to the sewing machine and did 2 long strips of sewing down the whole length of it, and then I came back and I added some decorative sewing there. You can see the little leaf pattern, and I did that in several different sections. And then you can see on the back the sewing a little bit better, and there's that leaf pattern, and I also did that wonky zigzag pattern, and I just did it in several different locations where I thought it might look good. So now I am going to work on adding all of the buttons and the little charms and the bulb pins and things like that. So you can see I have pulled out several different items. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use. Most likely the pink ones, but I'm just kind of playing around with which ones I want to use and where I want to place them. Now I do want to make sure I have a button or a charm in each little 5-inch section, as well as a bulb pin in each little section, and just going to continue to play around and work with that. For the decorative pieces, I will use my Lily glue gun. It's a great glue gun. It has that nice precision tip. I highly recommend it. I wanted to show how I sew the buttons on. So I start from the back side and just come up through the snippet roll, and then I go through the button, and then I go back down through the other hole. If there's 4 holes on a button, then I will crisscross and go through all 4 holes. And I do that about 3 or 4 times, just until the button feels nice and secure. And then I'll flip it over, and I just kind of loop through this the other string and then tie a couple knots. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but it works and it keeps the button nice and secure. So that's what I do. So here is the finished look of the snippet roll. I have all of the buttons sewed on, and I have also added the bulb pin, and I have a different charm on each one. I have a heart charm, and I also have this one with the beads on it that I got in Happy Mail. I also added these pink pearls, and I also added a little bit of rickrack, you can see there. But each bulb pin has something different on it. Another bead, and here is a key. And then I also made sure that I hot glued all of the other little charms on there. So I really like how this turned out. I hope this gives you some inspiration, and you go and make a snippet roll now that you know how to. I'm excited to send these off to my patrons in the April Junk Journal kit. I would love to have you join if you haven't already. I'll have the link below if you want to check it out, but you'll get a 5-inch section of this snippet roll in the bluegrass tier and my international tier. So I hope you join if you haven't already. All right, you all have a really great day, and thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this, and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. Bye.